So we have so many people out there that's just competing. We have families and caregivers, and it seems that we're just competing, with all of the distractions out there, such as the video games. I have a 12-year-old daughter, and she is always on that video game. It definitely has her attention. But for the families that is having a difficult time, dealing with keeping themselves balanced as well as their children, I wanted to share some tips with you today that you can use to kind of bring balance, not only with yourself, but also with your loved ones. The most important thing that we want to talk about today is just pure relationship enhancement. Relationship enhancement is so very important. There is an art and a science to relationships. There's an art and a science. And we have to learn to be proactive and very intentional in how we manage relationships with our other individuals that, we come in contact with on a regular basis. So being positive, there is a lot of benefit to being positive. So as we all know, we deal with all the demands that life brings us, all of the responsibilities, and particularly, the roles that we have. We have to be the provider. We have to be the decision makers. We have all these roles that we have to assume and also be able to manage our health. And so when you think about your health, I want you to always think about mind, body, soul, okay? As a man thinketh, so is he. Think about your spirit, a generous spirit. Think about your body. Your body is so important to you, and just keeping in mind, what you put in your body is the fuel. It's the fuel that's going to keep you going. And then, from the standpoint of that spiritual power, it's very, very important to have some type of foundation, a higher being than yourself. And that's one of the pieces that, gives you the authority to thrive and to be the best that you can be. And then your mental health, your brain controls your actions, your feelings, your behaviors. And it's real, so we're going to just talk about it, and we're going to consider our mental health so that we can make sure that as a tri-man, mind, body, spirit, we are equipped and ready to go. So one of the things that I wanted to share with you this morning was it is in reference to how do you manage a household, how did you manage your life, your family, and all the people that you're responsible for, and maintain balance. And so one of the tips that I wanted to share, which is a tip that I shared with one of my clients during our session on last week, is that think of yourself as like being the CEO of your family. Okay, so, in the business world, the CEO is the individual that is operating. They're the chief operating officer. So they're in charge, they're making the decisions, and they are making things happen. You're the CEO of your life, of your family, and you're required to make all of these decisions. So if you look at it from the framework of being a CEO of your household, we'll just narrow it down to the household. Because lots of times, when we go into the work environment, or if we send our kiddos off to school, there are always systems and expectations that are kind of already put in place for us to follow. But oftentimes, as a CEO of your own household, it goes lacking, or you put other things as a priority in order to meet those expectations in the outside world. So being a CEO of your own life, of your own household, it takes careful planning and being very strategic, but the outcome is very huge when you take the time and begin to shift your thinking from that framework. So what's it all about? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how do we become a CEO of our family. Well, the first thing we have to do is we have to plan. Planning is everything. So oftentimes, when we are charged with running our own households, we tend to implement some of the things and some of the rituals and routines that we inherited from our family, from our mothers and our grandparents and things of that nature. But with the demands that are going on today, and the stressors and the trauma that we, experience, just sometimes based off of the community that you live in, or the media, or, what's going on in neighboring communities that has an impact on you. So all of those things are kind of like up, down, up, down. But one of the things that we want you to do is just have a plan. So taking time at night, before you go to sleep, and just kind of getting a pen out and a piece of paper and just writing down, what is my plan? What are the things that I am responsible for? Jotting those things down, and then you put things in priority. So one of the strategies that we use with kiddos is it's very important for them to understand expectations. On last week, we talked about the pride skills, and one of the first strategies in reference to the pride skills that we discussed was label praises. So we're going to touch a little more on label praises in the program today. However, I wanted to get you to start off by being positive. Start your day off by being positive. The night before, you already have a list and an idea of the things that, you're responsible for, or all those things that are in your head. If we don't organize and take time to plan, oftentimes we can become very overwhelmed. So in order to help you balance that and to take some of that pressure off of you, and just to kind of decrease some stressors, we want you to get it out of your head and get it on paper. And then you can wake up on a positive note, because now you have, a vessel to get you to navigate throughout your day. So, for example, with the planning and being specific, if you have a child, or even if you have a significant other, and you map out the responsibilities of, keeping the kitchen clean, and who's going to be responsible for keeping the bathroom, in order, and the laundry, and even who's responsible for cooking meals, and, just all the things that's required to manage the household. Well, what I've learned with children and adults, we have to be specific. When you're specific and when you're able to talk about what it is exactly, the exact thing that you need, you tend to get better outcomes, both at work, at home, at school. So, for example, you may give your child the chore of washing dishes. So I may say, my son is Isaiah, so I'll use his name. I'll say, Isaiah, on Monday, I want you to be responsible for washing the dishes, okay? So for kids, and sometimes even for adults, we have to be a little more specific with the chore, that we want them to complete. So for example, you could say to Isaiah, or I would say to Isaiah, I would like for you to wash the dishes at 3:00 on Mondays, and I would like for you to be complete with the kitchen by 4:00. Okay. So washing dishes is something that I want him to complete, but what does that look like? Okay, I wanted you to make sure that, the dishwasher is emptied. I want you to make sure that the counters are wiped off. I want you to make sure that the trash is taken out. So washing dishes was like that entry command, or the expectation that we have, but then you want to be very specific, because the ultimate thing is for him to clean the entire kitchen. So you want to give him those specific details on what that looks like. Another thing that you can consider is a picture schedule. So we often use picture schedules. So it's very simple. In the clinical world, we have a whole library of picture schedules that we share with our families to help them thrive and to help them kind of meet expectations and navigate throughout the day. But as listeners, we all have iPhones or we have some type of electronic device that takes pictures. So one of the nuggets that I wanted to give you for this morning is just take a picture of your clean house, your clean kitchen. And, what does it look like when the dishwasher is empty? What's the final product? What does that expectation need to be to have a successful completion? And then you can actually hang that picture schedule so that the child or your family member or even a companion is very clear on what those expectations are. Okay, so when you start to implement these type strategies within your household, you're kind of working together as a CEO because you also want to be a servant leader, okay? And servant leader is someone that is just right there in the trenches with the people that's on your team. So I'm not only involved with the planning and giving the commands, but we're also going to work together to put a system in place so that we can make sure that we're meeting the demands and the expectations that we have put in place for ourselves. So you want to be really, really involved with the creation of this whole thing. And then give yourself about 30 days to be very specific and focus on target areas within your household. So for example, we started off with washing dishes, and then we ended up with managing the entire kitchen and what that looks like, and then just go from room to room. Okay, what does it look like in reference to the laundry? What supplies do we need? What days are we going to decide to wash laundry? And what I've learned, a lot of my families that come in to my office for counseling, they're like, okay, Johnny will begin to wash clothes, but he doesn't complete the entire task. He doesn't come back to fold the clothes or put the clothes up. And so that's why it's very important to, again, have those picture schedules, to have those conversations, and to also, begin with the end in mind. So in Johnny's mind, washing the clothes is what you asked him to do, and so he washed the clothes. But in your mind, you want to see the finished product. So just, begin with the end in mind, use picture schedules, and give yourself about 30 days to kind of go through and lay that out. And why I'm saying that is, in the corporate world or in the business world as a CEO, the CEO has to have a team in order to thrive. Okay, your family members, you're your team member, and together you guys have to strategize and map things out. And I guarantee you that within 30 days, you'll be functioning to your fullest capacity. And one of the other things that I wanted to recommend is just to have a conversation. Start talking about scheduling, because a lot of the strategies and a lot of the expectations that you guys are going to put in place is going to be, in order for it to be successful, you have to consider the schedule of your own schedule, your children's schedule, other activities that's going on outside, of the household. So you want to allot, the proper amount of time to make sure that you're able to meet your goals and expectations. So I want to challenge everyone to kind of put those strategies in place. I know, it's not something that it sounds very, I know how to wash clothes and I know how to do this. But remember, you're being a servant leader. You're setting an example for the individuals that live within the household with you, rather that be children, extended family members, or even a significant other. Because we have to realize that in relationships, everyone does not have the same upbringing that you have. So they have different tools, they have different experiences. And our past experiences are often, when it comes to managing a household, our past experiences are often what drives our decision making and our expectations. So together you want to be able to have a dialogue to choose and pick what